This is part 3 of 10 disciplines for transformational teaching. Discipline 3, get in the habit of learning and stay there. If we're going to teach well, we have to continue to learn well. That's pretty logical. The logic somehow escapes us, though, after we've logged a few years in the teaching or training profession. Maybe that's because we've bought into the prideful myth that we now know everything we need to know. Or maybe it's because life's too crowded to think about continuous improvement. Or maybe we're just tired of learning. After all, it can be as exhausting as it is exhilarating. Whatever the reason, when we neglect this basic axiom of teaching, we stagnate. We begin to teach from old notes, from old knowledge, from old patterns of thinking, from old and often outdated examples. Eventually, we may find ourselves just going through the motions, without purpose and without joy. Anyone who's been in the classroom for a few years or out on the speaking circuit a while knows the risk we face. Except for the geniuses among us, as we learn, so we teach. When we deprioritize our development, we lose our edge, our ability to think deeply about our material, our ability to speak into others' lives with penetrating insights. Ask any pastor, ask any professor, or any other teacher. Actually, strike that. Ask any person sitting under the teaching of a pastor or professor who's not in the habit of learning. This Sunday, it's the same basic lesson in a slightly different package. Then something similar happens in class on Monday. On neither day does the hearer leave that place any different than he or she entered it. You can also ask any college administrator about this phenomenon. Here's a person who used to be brilliant in the classroom, but whose reading is now limited to emails and college catalog revisions and glossy brochures from other institutions. As a result, he's slowly been de-skilled. So has the beleaguered high school teacher who has such limited time to freshen her knowledge and is starving to feel alive again, just as she felt in grad school. That's not intended to disparage anyone. In most cases, the problem is systemic rather than a conscious individual choice to deprioritize learning. Regardless the cause, the reality remains. When we stop learning, we stop growing. And when we stop growing, we stop teaching in a way that changes lives. Or, in more pithy terms, as legendary coach John Wooden put it, when you're through learning, you're through. The remedy, beyond making more space in life for professional development, is for those of us who teach for a living to think differently about who we are and what we do. We're not teachers, we're learners. We're not speakers, we're learners. We're not pastors, we're learners. We're not trainers or professors or coaches. First and foremost, we are learners. Framing matters. When we consider our vocation to be learning and passing along what we're learning, we allocate our time differently. We make time for reading. We make time for reflecting on what we've read. We research and write more. We take courses and seminars that sharpen the saw. We might even devote an entire day each week specifically to learning and synthesizing new information with what we've learned before. If you want to be a great teacher, a transformational teacher, think of yourself as a learner first. Insist on the time from those who manage you. Then, creating epiphanies for those who hear your words will happen regularly, just like it used to.